Greetings, my fellow mathematicians. So today we're going to be going over the basics on ratios and proportions. And in this video, we're going to be using one example where we look at members of a class. So let's say we have a class of 10 people. There's 6 boys and 4 girls. We can write a proportion between, say, the number of boys and girls as so. We would say this as boys to girls. And this ratio, when we read this ratio of boys to girls, we always write a colon between the two numbers we're comparing, and we say that as 2. And we know that we have 6 boys and 4 girls, so we can write the proportion as 6 to 4. Let us know there's 6 boys for every 4 girls, or vice versa. So now we can also write, say, the ratio between the number of boys to the total students in the class. In this case, it would be 6 to 10. There are 6 boys for 10 members in the class. But now let's say we want to compare to another class, a class that has, say, 20 students. And in that class, the number of boys, there are 12, and for girls, 8. Now, we can do the same kind of ratios we just did between the class and boys and girls in the second class, but let's say we want to compare between the two classes. In this case, we're going to have to use a proportion. In proportions, we use to compare different ratios or different amounts. And so, we can go back to looking at the ratio of boys to girls in the first class, which was 6 to 4, and in the second class, it would be 12 to 8. Now, I'm going to erase everything else just so we can focus on comparing these two values, and we want to see if the number of boys to girls in both classes is the same. And there's 2 methods we can use, which one will be simplifying, and the second method will be cross-multiplying. So when we simplify, we want to find the greatest common factor between the two numbers. And cross-multiplying, we're going to be multiplying different numbers. But in order to do both of these, we're going to have to write both of these ratios as fractions. So let's go ahead and do that first. For sake of simplicity, we're going to write the lower numbers on the top. So we'll write the first one as 4 over 6 and the second one as 8 over 12. And now we can begin to simplify. In order to simplify, we need to find, as I said before, find the greatest common factor. So we're going to have to write out the factors of both 4 and 6. So let's do that for 4 first. So for 4 can be made by 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. For 6, we have 1 times 6. And the second will be 2 times 3. So we can see the greatest common factor, or the largest two numbers that 4 and 6 share, would be 2. And so in order to simplify the fraction, we're going to have to divide 4 6 by 2 over 2. Now let me fix that 6. There we go. And so 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the simplified version of 4 6 is 2/3. I'm going to write that down here as well. So now let's erase this so we can do the same thing for 8 12. And if the ratios are the same, then we would get the same fraction. So let's go ahead and try that. So let's do 8 and 12. For 8, we have 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. For 12, there is 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Oof, that's really bad 3. That's better. So the greatest common factor between 8 and 12 is 4. So we're going to divide the fraction by 4 over 4. So let's write that down. 8 over 12 divided by 4 over 4. And that's going to get us 2 over 3. So as we can see, 2/3 here is the same thing as 2/3 there. So this would tell us that these ratios are equal to each other. But just to check our work, we're also going to cross multiply just so we can see multiple ways of doing it and to double check our work. So when we want to cross multiply, we're going to have to do the same thing using the fractions. We're going to have to multiply the denominator of one fraction with the numerator of the other, and vice versa. So in this case, we're going to have to multiply the 2 and the 12, and also the 3 and the 8. So 3 times 8 should be equal to, well, let me write the arrows there just for clarity because it looks like a multiplication symbol. So 3 times 8 would equal 2 times 12 if the ratios are equal. We know 3 times 8 to be 24, and it so happens that 2 times 12 is also 24. Being that these numbers are the same, this tells us that the ratios are indeed equal, or as we would say, proportional to one another. I really hope you guys found this video helpful. This is again the basics on ratios and proportions. Be sure to check out the other videos on simplifying fractions if you need extra help. And always keep working hard.